All right, so in this video, I want to talk about the actual raw reality of making 300K per month because I see all these videos online about how to make money doing this trick or this business model or that business model and using this tactic or that tactic. And this stuff, it gets people excited about making money online. So I do think it gives some value. I'm not saying that these people are all terrible people and they're, doing terrible things for the market because the truth is, when I first started trying to make money online, those are the types of videos that I watched as well. I came from a very poor background. I was even homeless at one point. I lived in like Section 8 housing, trailer parks. And, during my childhood, I kind of just got obsessed with playing video games. And I would play video games until like 3 o'clock in the morning, Call of Duty, RuneScape, World of Warcraft, etc. And I would always try to level up in the games. And I realized that I didn't really get any success until I just started grinding. Like I just had to start grinding and training and leveling up on, RuneScape or World of Warcraft or whatever before I would get better at the game and I would start making money in the game and I would start getting my stats up and being able to fight people really well and all that kind of thing. Right. And then I got into high school and early college and I started getting into picking up girls, right? So I started watching stuff like RSD, Real Social Dynamics, and also stuff like Simple Pickup. And I started trying to pick up girls. I got really interested in girls, and I was trying to pick up girls, and that was a big motivating factor for me. I know it's kind of cringe, but I'm just being honest. I'm trying to really convey like the raw reality of getting to this point where you're making 300K per month, like I am. And I'm going to try to be, just show you guys the process of exactly how I got into that. And basically, at the time, I was just kind of a degenerate. I'd just play video games all day long. I'd watch entertainment content all day long. And then when I got into like this RSD stuff and, I read the book, The Game and all this kind of thing, it was a long process because most of the marketers out there were teaching all this like tips and tricks, like, oh, trick her into liking you or whatever. And the truth is, and I'll save you a lot of time if you're getting into this stuff right now. The real way to get girls is to just become a guy who deserves to have girls, right? It's just like that's the real way to get girls, right? And so I slowly like learned that after, trying different things and doing different stuff. I was like, okay, if I want to get girls, then I just need to become a guy who deserves to get girls. So I started going to the gym. I started working on myself. I started getting into self-development. And from self-development, I read books like Tony Robbins and, Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins, really good book. And I started really working on myself and making myself a better person, like leveling up every single day, almost like in the video game. And I got into that and it started working pretty well for me and I started having success. And then I kind of got over that because picking up girls is kind of silly and you should honestly just get over that phase as fast as possible. It's a phase that just about every guy goes through. But you should get over it as fast as possible and just get yourself like a long-term relationship with one really good girl, right? That's my advice on that. Maybe you're smart enough that you can just skip that phase. And basically, after that, I kind of like started working on my career and I took self-development to my career, but then I kind of fell back into my old habits and I stopped really working on myself. And I went to pharmacy school. I became a pharmacist. I got 6 figures in debt. And during pharmacy school, I absolutely hated it. And then I ended up hating my job as well. And I was 6 figures in debt for it. But I started seeing all these marketers talking about different ways of making money online. And I started buying some courses. So I bought a course from this channel called Project Life Mastery. I think his name is Stephen James. It was on affiliate marketing. I believe that was the first course I ever bought, or maybe it was the second. I bought another course from Kevin David, which not going to go into details on that one, but look up FTC Kevin David, and I think that'll tell you everything you need to know. Was not a very good course. The first one was decent, but I honestly wasn't in a place where I needed to be mentally to get results from it. And the second course was not good, just to say the least. And yeah, all these guys were just like, very just markety, right? Like, oh, you can do this. It's super easy. It only takes like 1 hour a week, and then you just sit back and you travel the world and you don't do anything. So they were just like super big marketers and they made it sound super easy. And I appreciate them on a certain level because they got me into it. They got me excited about it and they got me convinced to actually try entrepreneurship. But I wasn't able to go from a complete beginner to like an amateur with them. I just basically stayed at the complete beginner stage because I wasn't really learning anything because I would try the thing, I would come into resistance and I would give up after like a couple weeks, maybe a month at most. And of course, I wasn't getting results. I mean, imagine if you go to the gym for a couple weeks, are you going to be able to get buff by going to the gym a couple weeks? Of course not. Of course you're not going to get buff. You have to do it consistently for months and years before you can get like a really good body. And it's the same exact thing with entrepreneurship. And so I went through a series of, I became like a serial course addict. I would buy course after course after course, and I wasn't getting results from any of them. And the biggest problem was myself. I would blame the courses, but at the end of the day, it was actually me. And it was, 10% the marketers that make it sound like super easy. And then this course popped up called Consulting Accelerator by Sam Ovens. And I started watching Sam Ovens' content online. And Sam Ovens was basically the opposite of all the other gurus. Instead of making it sound like it's super easy, he's like, this is going to be one of the hardest things you ever do in your life. And you're going to have to basically give up everything else in your life for a period of time in order to make this work. And you're just going to have to focus on business and treat it like it's your job. Treat it like a professional, right? Do it 8 hours a day, at least. And sacrifice other things in order to build yourself up in business. And he also talked about the personal development side of things. So it reminded me of back in the day when I was, playing video games at first and I realized that you just have to grind to get the results you want. And then also when I was trying to pick up girls and I realized you just have to become the person who deserves how to pick up girls. And he basically would say, he had this quote and he was like, you don't have business problems. You have personal problems that manifest themselves in your business. And he would say things like, in order to achieve your goals, you have to suffer. When you suffer, you're basically putting money in your sort of like karma bank account. Okay. And that is going to compound over time. And that's when you're going to get the results. So you have to suffer. You have to embrace the pain in order to get results. And you have to do it over a long period of time, right? And this type of messaging really made a huge impact on me. And that's when I actually started getting results in business. It was all thanks to Sam Ovens. Now, Sam Ovens doesn't sell courses anymore. He started this pretty cool platform called School, which I actually use for my coaching program. And yeah, he's kind of like ascended beyond, info product and selling services and consulting and coaching and that kind of thing and masterminds. But Sam Ovens, I got to give him a huge shout out because he's the one who actually changed my life. Now, was he as big as all the other gurus that are, like Tai Lopez and all these guys that make it sound like it's super easy? No, he wasn't. But he was still making a good amount of money. He was making pretty close to the same amount of money as all these other gurus, but he was actually telling the truth. And that's what I decided to do with this channel. This second channel that I've made, my first channel, over 750,000 subscribers. It's more of a mass market channel. I do retention editing. This channel is just going to be raw. It's going to be me talking to the camera. It's going to be completely uncut. And I'm just going to be brutally, brutally honest on this channel. Okay? So what I had to do to get results. And by the way, at the time, I was working like an absolute dog in the pharmacy. I was working like a madman in the pharmacy because we were going through the pandemic. And so I was working, instead of 12-hour shifts like usual, I was working like 15-hour shifts. And, thank goodness I did have like some days off and all that kind of thing. But yeah, it was rough. It was rough. And so what I would do is I would wake up early, right? I would wake up early before my shift. My shift would start at 9 a.m. and would go to 9 p.m. And I would wake up at like 5 a.m. I would work on my business for several hours. I would work out. I would do a quick workout. I would meditate and I'd do my morning routine. And then I would wake up. I would go to work, right? I'd stop at like 8:30 a.m. so that I could drive to work. And then once I got home at 9 o'clock, like 9 o'clock, 9:15, 9:30, somewhere around there, I would then work a couple more hours on my business. Okay. So I was working like, in some cases, like 18-hour days, like an absolute dog. And then, of course, I wasn't working, 12-hour shifts every single day. It wasn't like every single day that I was working those shifts. But, on my days off, I would be working on my business. And on top of that, I cut out everything that was bad for me, right? I cut out, uh, video games. I cut out watching TV, watching shows, watching Netflix, watching entertainment content. The only type of content I would watch would be educational content. And even that, I would limit it, right? Because you can kind of get addicted to watching educational content and think that you're making progress when in reality you're not, right? And I cut out all bad habits. So eating bad food. I cut out gossip. I cut out literally just like everything you can think of that's bad, right? Like scrolling on my phone. I would usually just lock my phone in the closet. I cut out mindlessly looking at social media. I would just I blocked Facebook. When I would access YouTube, all the videos were blocked. So I couldn't even see the videos pop up on YouTube unless I searched for them, right? And that's what I did. I just cut out literally every bad thing in my life. I stopped partying. I stopped going out and drinking. I stopped doing everything bad. I stopped doing the thing that rhymes with corn. Just everything. Everything I cut out. Okay? And I only spent my time working on my business or working on myself, right? Personal development. So I would meditate. I would work out. I would journal. I tried all the other things like the cold showers and everything. Some of it works, some of it doesn't work. I also found I would experiment with different diets, and I found the diets that work really well for me. For me, keto/carnivore works really well, and kind of like a low carb diet. That's going to be different for everyone, though. You just have to experiment and see which diet is best for you. And after doing this, I actually started getting results. I actually started making money, and my YouTube channel took off, my business took off, and I started making a ton of money. And this is what actually works, guys. It's embracing suffering, embracing discipline, and embracing the grind, and working on yourself, developing yourself. Become the person who deserves to be a millionaire, right? Instead of thinking, oh, I just want to make money as fast as possible. Think, I want to deeply change myself, like deep identity level change, and become the person who deserves to be a millionaire, And the crazy thing is, guys, is I'm at the point right now where tomorrow I'm going to be leaving for Palawan, which is in the Philippines. It's like one of the nicest places in the Philippines. A month back or so, I was in Japan. And so I'm doing this stuff that all the influencers talk about where I'm traveling the world and all this kind of thing. And to be honest with you, I have kind of fallen out of discipline a little bit, and I'm getting back into it. And I kind of go through phases, right? I go through phases of being disciplined, kind of like monk mode, so to speak. And then phases of being kind of semi-disciplined. And then I also fall out of discipline a little bit, especially when I go on vacation. I'm not very disciplined, right? And I purposely do that because I want to just let loose. And so I kind of cycle in and out of being disciplined, but most of the time I am disciplined, right? Every 3 months I'll give myself a break. Sometimes some quarters I take it a little easier than other quarters, but most of the time overall I am disciplined. And that's something that you just got to do if you want to be successful in business. You might get lucky and, as an undisciplined person, get a little bit of success, but that was just luck. I mean, anyone can get lucky. Anyone can win the lottery, but that doesn't mean that you deserved it. And you want to be the type of person who gives way more value than you receive, and you actually deserve the things that you get, right? You want to be the person who deserves to be a millionaire. You want to become the person who is a millionaire, right? And this is something that Sam Ovens talks about a lot. Another book you could read is Psycho-Cybernetics, which is about basically like deep identity level change and how you view yourself, and how you can change yourself into that person that actually deserves to be a millionaire, deserves to make money online, right? And yeah, this whole process, guys, like it's a painful process, and you can either you can't avoid pain in life. Like you are going to experience a tremendous amount of pain and suffering in your life, no matter what. But what you do have control over is what type of pain and suffering you feel. You can feel the pain and suffering of being mediocre or even bad and just like never having enough money, always being poor, always living paycheck to paycheck, always being stressed about money. You can feel that kind of pain. Or you can feel the pain of discipline and grinding in order to start a successful business, right? Which one do you want? Which one do you want to feel? You can feel the pain of dying early from a heart attack, being overweight and having no energy and having brain fog all the time and being lazy and unmotivated. Or you can feel the pain of going to the gym and working out and getting your exercise in, right? Like which pain and suffering do you want to feel? It's your choice. It's your choice. One type of pain and suffering is where you embrace the pain and suffering right now. And the other type of pain and suffering is where you put it off and you give into instant gratification instead of delayed gratification. And then you're going to feel that pain and suffering later on down the line, right? So which one do you want, right? Because all the business models work, guys. Every single one of them. Every single business model works. Now, I personally think that making content, especially making content on YouTube primarily and then redistributing it to other platforms, is the best business model. I think content creation is the best. And all the big gurus out there, like the way they actually make money is by making content. Like all of their income streams, either directly or indirectly, come from the content that they create. Okay? And some of them are honest about it and some of them are not. But that's how they're actually making money, right? And so I think content creation is the best. That's what I coach people on. You can apply for a consulting call down in the description in the pinned comment below if you'd like to. But yeah, I teach people how to do that. But the truth is, like, every single business model works. Now, content creation actually works really good in tandem with all of the other business models, but every single model works. There's a reason why so many people talk about it. It's because it actually works. But does it work for everybody? Of course not. It probably only works for a few % of the people who try it, because most people try it for a couple days, a couple weeks, maybe a couple months at most, and then they give up, right? And it's because they're not disciplined. It's because they don't embrace short-term pain in order to get long-term pleasure. They give in to instant gratification and they don't embrace delayed gratification. And as long as you keep doing that, unless you get really lucky, you're not going to have success. But if you want to basically stack the cards, stack the deck in your favor to where it's almost impossible for you to not succeed given enough period of time, right? If you just keep doing it day after day after day, some people are going to get lucky and they're going to have their first lucky break, which is really just probability. They're going to have their first video take off, or they're going to make their first sale within the first month. Others, it might take 9 months, a year, 2 years, right? And that can happen. That can happen. It can take a long time for you to finally find like the right niche, the right offer, and all that kind of thing that actually resonates with your audience. But as long as you keep grinding and you just keep doing, like, throwing stuff against the wall until something sticks, and then when that thing sticks, you throw that thing against the wall again and again, you're going to have success. It's just a matter of time, right? And that's the message that I wanted to send everybody. It's one of those things where I just want to just tell people the truth on this channel, because people need to hear it. People need to hear the truth that it's not easy. Actually, it's simple, but it's not easy, right? Making money online is simple, but it's not easy, okay? You have to, just like going to the gym and getting buff, just about anybody could do it, right? It's simple, but it's not easy. Everybody knows how to work out, right? All that information is out there on the internet for free. But in order to actually make it work, you have to go to the gym day after day and you have to work out. And in business, it's the same thing. You have to work on your business day after day, and then you're going to finally see results a couple months down the line, right? And this is something I had to remind myself of lately because I let myself fall off a little bit, right? I kind of stopped working on myself. I stopped meditating. I kind of stopped working out for a while. And I noticed my brain was just screwed up, right? Like I was having trouble working. I was having trouble getting even basic stuff done. So this is kind of a reminder to myself as well, because I fall off on this sometimes too. And I'm sure other business owners, if you're watching this right now, it happens to you as well. You got really disciplined. That's how you initially got success. You got to a certain level, the motivation faded. Maybe you're trying to like escape your 9 to 5 and you did that. You got to like, I don't know, 10, 30K per month. The motivation faded. And then you kind of just coasted after that, right? And you stopped being disciplined. You stopped doing the things that got you to the point that you were at. And then your business stopped growing. And, it happens to the best of us. So you just have to jump back on, get disciplined, get motivated, have a routine, and do the same stuff day after day after day. Grind, put in the work, and that is how you will succeed.